In today's video, we're going to model this in Blender. But before we get started, let's take a quick break and come right back. Welcome back, guys, to another video. Let's go ahead and dive right in as usual. So I'm going to clear my scene and I'm going to come in and bring in a cube, which is going to essentially make the basic shape of this model. So now what I'm doing is I'm going into the end panel and I'm plugging in manually dimensions that I've used for one of these smart assistants, which is based off of an Echo Show, but I'm going to make my own little slight variation of it just so it's not an actual Echo Show. And I want to apply the scale because I changed it in object mode, and then I'm going to take the back face of this thing and scale it down. Now what I want to do is I want to come in, I want to grab these edges of the cube, and I'm going to go into a little perspective view so I can see it, and I want to put a little bevel on it. So what's going to happen is when we run sub D later on this shape, it's going to round those corners. It's going to give us a nice rounded edge there. And let's go ahead and move this object up above to the axis plane here, and then I use a 3D cursor and I rotate it where the 3D cursor is, and then that gets us that tilted back angle that we want. And then I'm just going to move the whole object down to that axis. And I went ahead and changed the origin to the bottom. So that looks pretty good. So now what I want to do is come back in here and I want to bring in an inset off that bottom face. I want to pull it down just a little bit just so I can make essentially the beginning of a platform for this thing to sit on. This one's going to go pretty fast, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the bottom here. So what I'm trying to do is create a base for this smart assistant to sit on the top of a desk surface. But from here, I'm going to build like the little stand that elevates it, that it sits on. So I'm just kind of grabbing some edges right here and trying to figure out my method or my strategy in which I want to go ahead and build this out. So grab the whole face. I'm going to inset it. And what I want to do is extrude it down because I'm going to pull it down and create the neck for the stand. Now I'm going to extrude again, and on this time I'm going to scale it out like that. And that would look great, but it's just not sitting quite high enough. So what I want to do is I want to extrude it on Z again, and I want to scale it out a second time, like you're seeing here. And for the most part, this is about the height I want. So, but the problem I have is that it's that edge right there is, I believe, convexing outward. I want it to concave inward. I think I said that right. So I'm going to hit Alt S and I'm going to run deflate operation to kind of suck it in just a little bit like that. And now I'm going to recalculate the normals with Shift N. Let's visually check it in Blender. Go back to object mode and then hit face orientation. It's all blue, so all blue means all good. So we're good there. So now I'm going to come back into edit mode and I'm going to grab all of those faces at the bottom, and then I'm going to extrude it down again, and that's essentially going to be that little lip that makes the bottom of that stand. So now what I want to do is I'm going to bring in a loop cut. I'm going to scale it out because this is going to be the opening for the data port or the charging port on the back. I'm not going to over-engineer the look of this because I'm essentially just showing you guys very quickly how to create blockout to make this thing. I'm going to grab that edge and bring it up because I wanted it higher like you see here. But if you look to the left and right of it, there's not a lot of geometry there, which I will be adding at a later time in the video. So right now I'm just kind of insetting. I'm getting that square or rectangle about the size I want. I'm going to extrude it in, and bam, there you go. Very quick and dirty data port. So let's grab all of these edges here and all of these little edgy pieces down here at the bottom of that stand. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a tight little bevel on it. So when we get to the point of running sub D on this stand, sub D will be restricted at the areas in which I ran the little tight bevel on. So it will basically, it'll maintain that sharper look at those portions of the model. Alright, so now what I'm doing is I'm grabbing the top faces of the stand. I'm going to extrude them up just a little bit. I want to inset them just a little bit, and then I'm going to extrude it back downward a little bit where it doesn't eat into it, because that's going to be the tray that the assistant sits in. So now you're seeing this after applying sub D, and we don't have any smooth shading on it right now. So let's go ahead. I'm going to crank up my sub D to level 3. Let's shade smooth it. And let's add some more geo in, because it's going to make our subdivision look a little bit cleaner. And like I said, I'm not over engineering the modeling of this thing. I'm not going for super high resolution, super high detail. I just want to do a quick smart assistant and basically focus on blockout, and then using sub D to kind of make it look right. And you'll see this is not a whole lot of effort that I end up doing to make this thing. Alright, so far so good. So now bring everything back. I'm going to grab this front part of the assistant, just as flat faces. I'm going to Shift D, create a copy, and then separate it. Now it's a new object. This is going to be the glass that goes on the front. So I'm just looking it over. I'm going to grab those back faces, and then I want to extrude those. It's going to extrude automatically on the local axis. So that's about as thick as I want that glass. And I want to come in here, I want to select everything, hit Shift in to recalculate normal so we don't get any weirdness. And because I know I did it, I don't need to do the face orientation this time. Let's put a quick little tight bevel and a support loop. And now I have glass. Now, if we sub D this, it's going to be kind of funky. So I need to add some geometry in so it restricts the shape overall a little bit more. Otherwise, sub D would have like rounded this off at the top and the bottom and the sides too much. And let's give it a name in the outliner. And like I said, this is going to be the glass on the front of the Smart Assistant. So now you can see it in context when we bring everything back. And now what I want to do is grab the body of the Smart Assistant. And let's add some geo into it, add some greater geometry so it looks a little bit nicer when we run sub D on it. And notice, we're not getting full edge loops going around the model. That's because we have some ingons, but we'll deal with that here in a minute. Not a big problem because most of this is flat. Even though you guys know I don't like to teach you to model and leave ingons. Sometimes it's okay, but I try not to teach it, so I'm just going to fill in the gaps here. So I'm just tying this geometry together. I'll do a couple of them, and then I'm going to kind of speed through in the video so you guys don't have to sit here and watch me select every vertex and tie these together. I'm just basically showing you how I did it. This is a part of Blender that's like watching paint dry. Alright, so we've got nice edges going that way, so now we need to go the opposite way. So let's go back to edit mode. Let's put in some edge loops here, and as you see, we got the same problem because we got ingon at the bottom, but that's okay, we can fix it. So let's do the same thing. Let's go to vertex view edit mode, and I'm gonna click across and tie all these bad boys together. And like I said, I'm gonna speed this along so they're all done. And now we have pretty good geometry on this Smart Assistant. I'm not going to model in buttons at the top or camera or any of that stuff because we kind of don't need it for what we're going to be doing here. I do want to run a nice little tight edge right there. I want to shade smooth it. and I've got a level 3 sub D on the body as well. Now I'm going to go to look dev mode, and we're going to start putting in some materials on this, because essentially we're done modeling that quick. So great job if you were following along. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just picking some faces here that I want to separate the part that you see on the screen, so the visual content, versus that little black bezel that goes around the edge of it, if that makes sense. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute if you guys don't understand what I'm talking about. So I'm creating a vertex group, and I'm going to assign this selection to my first one, so I don't have to go back in here and keep selecting these faces. All right, so that's done. And we can change this later. So now I'm going to drag in another window off of this viewport. And what I'm wanting to do is I want to come in, and I'm going to bring in my materials so I can see my shaders that I created, my glass shader that I like to use. This can be found on BlenderKit for free. If you do a search for LM3 official, you'll see it. Now, I want my bezel to be a little bit thicker, so I'm coming here with the knife tool, and I'm basically creating some geometry here. You'll see what I'm going to do here in a second, because I want that bezel to be a little bit thicker and the viewable area of the screen a little bit smaller. So now I'm just tying in these verts, so we still have an all quad solution. And the one at the top left is already good, so we're good. Now watch this, guys. So I lock that in, and then boom, I hit Control plus or Command plus on the Mac, and now I've got a selection here I can make in the vertex groups for the bezel, which I don't remember what I ended up calling it, but essentially that's what it is. So I'll assign that. So the part that's like not selected in the middle of that screen, that's going to be the part that the screen's going to be lit up. So now what I want to do is I want to come back in here, and I want to select some faces of the body of the Smart Assistant. And this is where I'm going to add in the speaker material, that fabric. So I just want to go ahead and create a vertex group for that as well, so I can see it and select it, so I don't have to do all this later. It also allowed me to select it very quickly, so I can create another object out of it, which is what I'm going to end up doing, and be able to make the speaker material look slightly more realistic. So now I'm coming in here, I'm creating a material for the plastic, the black plastic that's on the base, or the platform, or whatever you want to call it. And let's drag that window back out again, go to shader editor, and essentially I'm just going to create my typical plastic shader. So I'm going to get rid of the principal node. I'm going to bring in a diffuse and a glossy. And then the third item I'm going to bring in is a mix shader node, and I'm going to tie them all together. So let's get rid of principal. And let's move these down. Let's bring in a mix shader, which will allow me to mix the two of these nodes together to create one output. Yeah, I get this kind of screwed up sometimes, guys. Bear with me. This was changed in Blender 4 something, which is supposedly a little bit easier to drag those windows across, but for whatever reason I have like the biggest issue with it. Like I drag windows the wrong way all the time now. But anyway, I just left it in the video. Alright, so what I want to do here is I want to add white to the glossy, and then I use diffuse, which is my diffuse color, to denote the color of the plastic. And then I just crank down the factor closer to the diffuse, because I just want that white sheen of plastic to be on there. Anyway, and I didn't change the IOR, but that would have helped. So now what I want to do is I'm bringing in a plane, I'm dragging it up, I'm grabbing those edges, and I'm going to bevel them because I'm creating a backdrop. And I'm bringing in my camera, and I want this to be square, 1920 by 1920. And I want to change the focal length of my camera to 80 millimeters. So it'd be more like a portrait focal length. Has less distortion. and just kind of center it up. I'm just eyeballing it, guys. I'm not using the guides or all that stuff like I usually do. Because essentially we're done modeling, and I'm just kind of showing you guys how I made the rest of it. Minus lighting. I'm not going to bore you with that, but the rest of the video at this point is just kind of watching how I put this scene together. I'm just kind of looking it over. I'm going to get rid of this light here. That was the default point light. So now I'm just speeding it up a little bit, and you're going to see I'm going to add in a bunch of area lights. And yet again, I'm using the Light Wrangler add-on to pull my lights in. I can do this manually. You can do this manually. You don't need Light Wrangler to do this. But Light Wrangler's just, for me, it's just, it shaves off seconds. So now what I'm doing is I'm getting ready to set up the screen. So I'm bringing in a shader node for that selection I made for the actual screen, not the bezel, but the screen part. And notice I've got another UV map set up. I'm coming in. I've already brought my image in offline. I didn't record it, but it's right here in the selector. So I'm scrolling down to it, and I've got a material set up for it. Now you see where I've got it, the image texture set up to repeat. I do change it to clip. I don't know if I show it in the video though, but I'm right here in the UV editor making sure I'm on the right UV map. You don't see anything yet, but then I come here in the material, I select that second material and hit assign, and then boom, that turns it on. So now all I gotta do is just grab my selection up here in the UV editor and rotate it. I could have rotated it by 90 or negative 90 in my case. And then I'm just going to scale everything down. So when UVs, you've got like, essentially you got X and Y, and there is no Z here. So I'm just scaling it out to fit in the screen. And you guys can see from the video here, the bezel, how much thicker that bezel is. There you go. So now I want it to look like it's glowing, like light is emanating from it. And I am in cycles. So all I got to do here is in that shader for that screen, I'll take the color value from the texture image and plug that into the color of the emission. And then now I can manually crank up the amount of emission. So now I'm grabbing the back where the speaker material is. I duplicated it and then I separated it out as a new object. And now I'm leaving the left view over there kind of like that camera shot view. And then in the right view, I'm over here like kind of moving stuff around and looking and all that good stuff. So what I want to do is bring in the solidify modifier, but then I got to get it in the right order. So I need to put it ahead of the sub D. And there you go. So now it looks right. So now what I want to do is grab the object here. I'm going to bring in an empty cube. And what I want to do is scale it around everything I made for the Smart Assistant. It is going to be the parent, it being the cube empty. And I'm going to parent everything into it. And we're essentially done. Going to go ahead and give it a name and outliner so you'll see what it is. But we're done, guys. I mean, this is it. If you like this content, please do me a very good favor, like and subscribe for more. And I think on the next one, we're going to do something food related. But before I sign off, great job on this, guys. This is what we ended up coming up with. Make sure to practice, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.